Welcome. Episode 3 is the Sky into Eye show. Honestly, it's probably take number 15. If you guys could have seen this, and maybe I'll release some of this to our members on the channel because it was hilarious, man. It was hilarious. But like you said, we having some fun. We're excited to talk about Cowboys football. OTA number 3 was yesterday. You were on the field. You were at practice. You were, part of the media group talking to the Stephen Joneses of the world and the players and things like that. So we've got a lot to report to you. We got the Eye in the Sky and 2 Eye coming up. Eye in the Sky with 2 Eye coming up here in a few seconds. But excited, man. Excited to talk some ball with you again, 2 Eye.
Yeah, man. Last day of media availability for OTAs yesterday. I'm gonna get into mini camp next week, so things are gonna ramp up just a little bit more. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about like the last little things that we saw yesterday, and then start getting ready for mini camp where it's gonna ramp up a little bit more, and then you'll see it's required for the guys to be there, so everyone will be present.
Yeah, and yesterday, there was a bit of a situation where they started off outside, but I guess there's some storms happening down there in Dallas, and it just was entirely too windy to be productive, so they moved them inside. And I know a lot of fans would be like, phooey, like they need to be out there practicing in it. But from my understanding, they just couldn't get anything done because of the weather.
What's wrong with people? I'm serious. Sometimes we see this weird, to me, entitlement in regard to athletes that is just like, this is a human being. These are human beings. And yo, it was so windy out there yesterday. The equipment was flying around. Something flew past Britt Brown. He just looked at it because that's the type of person he is. Listen, the report, we had paperwork in our hand and stuff. It was flying away. You couldn't do anything really out there. So that's why they moved it inside. As you mentioned, Sky, as we were moving inside, we saw Steven on the way in, and he did this impromptu, I'm going to talk to y'all. He said, I got 5 minutes. I said, all right, Steven, you do your thing. And everyone initially started asking about Micah. Let me tell you, he shut that down real quick. He said, hey, I'm not about to do all these questions about Micah. The communication's been really good. Like he basically shut it down. And it's funny to me because it is different. To me, it is different. And the way that they are not talking about it and stuff like that, I think it's because of the player he is that you can't really just be doing all that extra stuff. So yeah, he shut that down quickly, let us know I don't really want to answer any more questions about Micah. And that was the end of that.
Steven was on his Jerry.
I don't have the patience to jack with you today.
Not today.
Facts. That's the energy at it. Don't get me wrong. He talked. He wanted to talk and answer questions.
And we'll get to what he did say later on in the show. So I got to stick around to fourth down because he said some things that, we want to elaborate on a little bit more. But as they moved inside, that's when we started to see the offense finally have some of these kind of wow moments. And that's where I want to start off with first down. Damn. The Cowboys offensive side of the ball had some of these moments, 2 Eye, and you had a chance to be down there, and we got our George Pickens. Wow, he did that type of moment at practice. Who, by the way, is wearing number 3 now, so we can kind of call him GP3. I kind of like GP3.
Looks nice on a GP3.
Shouts out to Henny, by the way. I like that GP3.
And also shouts out to Gary Payton.
Another.
Yeah, I think they call him that. I don't know.
GP. They call him GP.
But we finally got to see him. Now, granted, like he's been available. He's been out there. He's been, he'll catch a couple grabs, but this is the grab that really was like, okay. Like obviously him being the red zone threat that he is, it was cool to see because again, they were in a competitive period where they were basically just doing red zone like drills, I guess you want to say. And like the ball was out of Dak's hands before Pickens even really turned his head around. Like you already knew he was going there, and you saw Pickens like identify, the pylon, and his feet placement was fantastic. And yeah, it was a little toe touch grab right to the like starting corner, I guess, of the end zone, and it was like, okay, that's something that I can look forward to. You've been looking for another red zone threat outside of CeeDee Lamb, and I think you might have one.
Yeah, we'll get to another potential red zone threat a little bit later in this segment. But you said something in your notes that you sent to me where you said you can tell that Dak is already gaining trust in him early.
Oh yeah,
And that's big to me because when you think about how it started off with Brandon Cooks when he got here and some of these young receivers, there really wasn't that chemistry and that trust early on. It took some time. And that's one thing that, Dak actually early in his career, and when he got, I think it was Randall Cobb, when he got, I think, who was the other one? Amari Cooper. It didn't take long for him to establish that early on. Cooks, it took a little bit of time, and these young receivers, it wasn't quite there. But with George Pickens, I think is huge because George is just on a different level than post Randall Cobb additions that have been here for the Cowboys. And there's going to be times when they're out there and teams are overtly and obviously shading towards a CeeDee Lamb, and there's going to be a one-on-one with George Pickens, and Dak is going to have to say, I'm just going to trust you to win this one-on-one because this is a matchup nightmare. So to hear that to me was a bit of a big deal.
Yeah, and it was against Bland too. And there was some jawing back and forth because Bland is a competitor. He's so polite. He's so sweet. But he did a little talking. I saw him as he was walking off to Pickens. And again, it just speaks to like this healthy competition that they have going. But yeah, obviously we consider Deron Bland one of the best corners in the NFL. And there was some separation between he and Pickens on that play. So again, for me, I'm paying attention to Dak's mechanics as well, which look fluid, which looks comfortable. Got to see him when he's scrambling, he's running, y'all. Like it's a run. It's not a jog. It's not he's moving on the run. His footwork looks better than I thought it looked last season to start, even so. And and yeah, if they're building some level of trust already, like I said, the ball was gone quickly. He decided that's where I'm going.
Nice.
And I think he knew where Pickens was going to be, and Pickens was there. So he delivered the ball, and it was a touchdown at that point in practice.
You talk about Dak Prescott scrambling, and one of the guys he has always had a connection with in those scramble drills is Jalen Tolbert.
Yes.
Right? And that's another guy who is low-key, or at least last year was low-key one of the better or more efficient red zone wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And now with Dak back and in that scramble mode, you talked about how he was finding Jalen Tolbert in these situations, and he even had a really good catch yesterday.
Yeah, he had a really nice grab in the back of the end zone. He had to extend forward, come down with it. We've seen him do that. We saw him do that last season. And yeah, Dak has a tendency. I mean, listen, when you look at Jalen Tolbert's, a lot of his big plays last year, they were on third down. They were on fourth down. And it wasn't just third down. It was like third and longs.
Yeah.
And so when Dak is scrambling for him, like Tolbert has the wherewithal to make sure that he continues moving and that he's, coming back to the quarterback. That's something that grinds my gears sometimes with receivers, is receivers that don't come help their quarterback when their quarterback is scrambling. And because Tolbert is so used to doing it, I think it's a natural thing Dak expects for him to be there. So Dak starts scrambling. There kind of is like a break, I guess you want to say, and he just darts to his left, sees Jalen Tolbert in the back of the end zone, delivers the ball to him, and obviously Tolbert did the rest. So it was a good grab in practice, and I think Tolbert is somebody, as number one, we've talked about it, he should be a little less stressed with Pickens here. And if he is going to be your 3 and he's going to perform like even if he performs kind of how he did last year, like you want him to take some steps. But it's just like, if yes, your 3 receiver at this point, we'll see what happens. Then I think that you go into the season a little comfortable because ain't that many teams that got 3 corners, Sky.
Yeah, that's something that I was about to bring up. It feels like Jalen Tolbert has a stronghold on wide receiver 3, and I had this conversation the other night where, look, if Tolbert is your wide receiver 2, yes, we got to fight to make sure that's not the case. If Tolbert's your wide receiver 3, I think he slides into that position perfectly. He's a guy that has trust with QB1 over the years. He's a guy that did show up in big, third downs, like you said, fourth downs, like you said. So you want that 3 to be that guy. And like you also mentioned, look around the league, not just at cornerback 3, wide receiver 3. There's not a bunch of Pro Bowlers at wide receiver 3. There's more Jalen Tolberts than you think that are there. And there may be times where in games week to week, it's not going to be Tolbert every game as your third, or I don't even think he's going to be a third option, but as your 3 guy. They may rotate that thing with Turpin may be the guy. It may be a running back out the backfield, maybe the second tight end. But I think at 3, he slides into that really well.
Yeah, maybe it's a Mingo.
Yeah, that's a competition, right? That's his main competition right now.
Yeah, it just depends on. I want, and I've always felt like this, and I know you feel like this too, Scott. I want an offense that can play the matchup game. What does the matchup call for? If you have the versatility, let's attack that. Like if you know these guys don't want to come up and tackle on the edges, attack that. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever, use the guy that can attack the edge. Don't use the guy that just, only can run through the middle of the field. Like use the guy that can bounce to the outside. So I'm like, if this matchup, if we know that their 3 corner struggles with slants or whatever the case may be, I don't know, whatever. Put Mingo out there. If it's something else, like use Tolbert. So I'm hoping that this offense is interchangeable in certain spots. Not everywhere. You can do it everywhere. But in certain spots, let's play the matchup game so we can win the game.
Yeah, I mean, the league is turning into that, right? Like, that's one of the issues the Cowboys defense had a couple years ago is they didn't match personnel well. So teams is like, oh, you want to play itty bitty ball? You want to be small? You want to have little small linebackers and run out 3 safeties in a nickel corner? We're going to run down your chest.
Right.
And that's what they did. No diddy.
No.
Well, because you know what's going on.
No.
I'm not going to bring it up, but you know what's going on.
No, say that.
I know that's why I said no diddy.
No, say that.
No diddy, because I don't want y'all to. Anyway, you talked about the middle of the field. And once again, my antennas perked up a little bit when you sent me your notes. And let me tell y'all what her notes said. This was awesome. It said, crossing routes. And I'm yelling because it was exclamation points. It was all caps. And I'm like, oh, yes. We got more middle of the field type of plays, which I would guess, and you can let me know, that was accompanied with some pre-snap movement, maybe some post-snap creativity that you see across the league now. And I'm gonna continue bringing it up because we just didn't see that a lot over the last number of years, where it sounds like Shadi is trying to implement that, and it's not really being reported. You're like the only one that on this show that continues to come back and talk about, hey, man, we're seeing crossing routes. We're seeing pre-snap stuff. We're seeing the things that we have been asking for a while. And as long as you keep saying that, we're going to keep talking about it.
Well, I mean, Shadi talks. He's been saying it in his pressers.
He has.
He's been saying it even since last year. He's been saying shifts, motions, crossers. He's been saying that this stuff is what works. But he even said it. I think he said it last week. He said it again. Like, this is, I'm of the mindset that shifts and motions and things like that work. So he's saying it. So I don't know why there isn't like people aren't, maybe people are seeing it. They just don't feel like it's necessary to report it.
Right. Maybe they think it's not a big deal, but to me it is.
To me, yeah, but to us, it's a big deal because we understand that crossing routes, I talked to Jordan Lewis last year. I talked to Deron Bland last year. Crossing routes are one of the hardest things to defend. Having to carry a receiver all the way across the field like that is number one, is fatiguing, and number two, it goes back to some of the things you talk about, Sky, is causing conflict and muddying up things a little bit. But yeah, saw a couple of crossing routes yesterday, specifically from Treshaun Holden, who had a good day. So here's the thing about Treshaun, and I'm gonna say this really quickly because I know I'm one of the people that thinks he could, make a push because the talent is there. It is the off the field temperament, things like that I think alarm some people. So he's in a place to where I think him just playing is best for him. And now that I know the background of some of it, I think that helps me understand his presser before, you remember, not the presser, the interview he had where he was just like, I'm coming for everybody. Because he's a guy that believes, he shouldn't. Talent-wise, he probably should have been drafted up. He should have been drafted in general. But yeah, he's got that little chip on his shoulder type vibe, and he's somebody to keep your eye out on because he's confident, dog. And when he snatches the ball, you hear it. When he takes the ball out of the air, because football is sound too, you know that. Like I'm
I
looking to
love
hear
that.
certain sounds, and when I hear him catch the ball, it's a like he's catching that thing, bringing it to his body. They drug him across the formation. It was just like a up and out, like well, up and in rather, and you see him just cut, uh, and he's open, and why can't I ever
No, that's
remember
fine.
what
Stay
is?
stay right there on holding if you were about to move on from him real
Okay,
quick.
you're good, you're good, you're good.
And I'm trying to keep pushing through this damn lawnmower out there, y'all. I
Are
apologize.
they doing it over here
Oh,
too?
it's
Get out the
I apologize, Cowboys Nation, if y'all hear these lawnmowers going off around us. We fighting through it. We pushing through this thing like Holden has pushed through some adversities in his career. And you brought up the temperament. I think that's the distinct difference that I've at least noticed or have heard about with him compared to some of the other down roster guys like, Brooks and Flournoy and things like that. And these guys were drafted, is that his temperament is a little different. He has a dogged mentality where
Yes.
he may not be as physically gifted as a Ryan Flournoy. He may not be a drafted guy like a Brooks, but Holden's like, hey, I can take y'all spot.
He's
Like,
spicy.
y'all spots ain't guaranteed here, and he
Mhm.
plays with that dogged mentality. He as a player in college, he was a big play dude. I think in the Big Ten he was maybe top 2 or 3 in 20+ yard receptions downfield.
Yeah.
So he comes in as a confident player. His off field, I think that brings a chip on his shoulder on the field, and it sounds like we're seeing some of that play out.
Yeah. Here's another thing too. The cat. How do I say this? Listen, I understand that Joe Milton has his times. Like he's still learning different things, working on his touch, all that stuff. You upgraded at the quarterback 2 position.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh,
upgraded greatly, and you know what? These players, these wide receivers, these other players that's trying to make the roster and stuff. I know that they are going to be thankful
man, we right here
because
with it.
I know because I'm looking at somebody like Holden. Like I said, he's already connecting with Milton. I told you last week that the end of practice, that's how we ended practice. Is Treshaun Holden had a great grab for Joe Milton on the run. Joe Milton darts to his right, throws a dime to Treshaun Holden coming across the field. That happened again this week. So they're connecting. So I think Holden's also giving himself a chance. So when preseason comes, things like that, he can have a connection with the
Well,
quarterback that's probably going to be out there the most.
I
What's
think
up?
beyond the connection part, because we've seen Rush have a connection with Noah Brown. I don't know if you remember that 2022
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
I think what helps is that you'll be able to get some of these down roster guys, hopefully, right? They'll have a better quarterback that can get them the ball in preseason to show something. Because the
Yeah,
problem
that's what I was
for years, even, and I know you can say, well, Cooper Rush, he got in the regular season. He was, because he was playing with the better players. But in the preseason, you never got a real shot to see these wide receivers get an opportunity because, Rush played a little bit, but then he also wasn't the greatest early on. And who else did they have in there? Trey Lance. Over the last few years, Trey Lance just wasn't a guy that's able to get the ball to these receivers. Not saying Joe Milton is this gangbuster of a quarterback, but he did show some improvement last year, and I do think he's going to give these guys a shot in the preseason this year, which is huge for the Holdens and the Brookses of the world.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even Will Greer. Like we know Will Greer will toss the
Yeah.
ball around. There's a reason why Cincinnati was like,
so.
"Hey, dude, come up here for a little bit. Let's see what you got." Like, yeah, So I just think that's gonna help us evaluate because that's what I care about. That's gonna help us better evaluate. That's
Good
gonna
point.
help the team better evaluate to where when cuts happen and things are happening, you can really look at the Cowboys will be able to really look at like there was a guy that was able to deliver the ball to them, and we have actual stuff going on and not dirt balls and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of overthrown balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was just something I wanted to throw in there is that I'm glad that there's better play at the quarterback 2 position at this point to me.
Which is a lot of people are going to say, well, you sound crazy because of the overall record, but you have to look a little bit deeper, right? Where we're talking about the actual talent and ability. not the team record situation, but just the ability so that we can eval these guys a little bit better in these situations where you're not out there playing with the starters, you're playing with backups.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Cooper Rush. I think he's going to do great things. And where he at, Baltimore?
Yeah, which is a strange fit to me.
I don't know what. It's
whatever.
not our business.
Not our business.
It ain't our business no more.
I'm minding my black business.
It ain't my business no more. But yeah, I can say that for myself. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I'm watching. There is more energy with the twos in general because these guys know that they can get the ball. Like, let's just be real here. They finished around.
They went from here we are to here we go.
Here we are is insane.
They switched it up. Yeah. We'll see. Allegedly, maybe they're not doing the here we go anymore. I don't know.
We are. Well, yeah, we'll see about the here we go.
You know, Cooper Rush was 100%. We're here, guys.
Please.
We've arrived.
No.
Joe Milton ain't with all that. Joe Milton out there doing flips and dips, duck, dodge. Man, he's gonna be fun to watch.
He's a sick athlete.
You get the Joe Milton experience. He gonna throw them picks. And that actually leads us into second down, ladies and gentlemen. Where we'll get to this defensive side, and you had a lot of good defensive notes here. And I want to start off with Damone Clark, because it's so interesting how things kind of play out. During the presser for Shoddy, Damone Clark was brought up and asked him about him and his improvements and things. And he brought up Dave Borgonzi and Flus, the linebackers coach and obviously defensive coordinator, who we know Flus is a linebacker whisperer. That's what he does, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that at
first.
Yeah,
linebacker whisperer, man. So you could argue much how I feel about the run game, where you'll get an improvement on the run game regardless of who's back there, regardless of who's up front, because you got Clayton Adams, Connor Riley. You could argue there's going to be an improvement in these guys from a linebacker standpoint because Flus is here with Borgonzi. Now, how much improvement is going to be up to those guys, but we're already hearing good things about a Damone Clark who, he made some noise yesterday with the interception. But, Shoddy talked about their connection, Borgonzi and Clark. Clark goes out there and he makes a play early on. Kind of talk about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wanted to comment on Shoddy's comments about Damone. Damone is somebody that I consider a player that I might be closest to Damone than any of the other players. And seeing what he went through last year, this was a conversation of fit. This is something people don't talk about as often as when other coaches come in, is that sometimes they just not gonna vibe with certain players. And it seems like there wasn't, he and Zimmer and those guys weren't on the same page. They just weren't.
Well, Tuai, would you argue a message was sent when he got here and they drafted Maris Leofau and they signed Eric Kendricks, that, they must have looked at Damone and they said, yeah, this isn't our guy. And look, you could argue for good reason. It's not like he had an amazing 2023. Yeah. So, that's on Damone to put tape out there so that the next coach doesn't say, we don't want you,
Yeah, no, don't get it twisted. Like, that's my guy, but I have to evaluate his tape like everybody else. And there was a lack of decisiveness and the trigger was slow and things like that. So it's like, and then also too, there are times where the physicality wasn't there the way that it needed to be. So it also just wasn't consistent, because you could watch him one week and you'd be like, dang, he's slashing and everything. And then you watch him the next week. I think when they did start to kind of move him a little closer to the line of scrimmage and let him just kind of be the free guy, I don't think he's ever going to be a Mike. I don't think he's ever going to be a Mike because of the decisiveness and all that stuff. But when you kind of let him play free, I think that you find some good things out of him. But anyway, that was the big thing, was the diagnosing, the trigger. And Shoddy mentioned that he thinks that, Damone is more comfortable in doing what Borgonzi?
Yes, Dave Borgonzi. Yep.
Dave Borgonzi wants him to do.
Borgonzi.
I'm tired of you. And I think he's getting some reassurance from the coaches as well that he is on the right path, and they're seeing him kind of take an uptick. So, it was a pick by Milton over the middle. He just didn't see him. There's no way he saw him. Like, he just didn't see him. And that's something that Joe Milton going to have to work on. But yeah, he just didn't see him, and he threw it almost right to him. I think he was trying to put it over him, but Damone is a little bit. He's
I
he's an
think he's like
athlete. So
6'4", maybe.
yeah,
Pretty
yeah. So
tall.
Damone snatched the ball out of the air, got a pick six, and the biggest part to me was the celebration. And to me, and I think that speaks to number one, these guys is really competing. Like the defense really trying to beat the offense every day, and vice versa. But also too, those players knowing probably what Damone has went through and kind of trying to pour into him because they were ecstatic when he got that pick six. Like seriously, like everybody was celebrating. I was just like, oh, him got friends.
Him got
Oh,
friends is crazy. Well, that's good to hear that a couple of these guys are stacking some days and developing some of this confidence. And we'll get to a few other of these players. In fact, let's kind of get to that right now in regards to the DB room, because the DB room's in a bit of a flux, right? With the injuries, a lot of guys are out. Some guys are trying to make their way back. Kalen Carson, it sounds like he's ramping up to get back out there, which he needs to, right? The Cowboys are trying to figure out this nickel situation a little bit. You're hearing about Izzy. I kind of want to get your thoughts on Israel McQuamo right now, who is doing some outside cornerback things. I
yeah,
know me personally, I've said this for a very long time. I'm not really a huge fan of Izzy being a full-time slot. A matchup slot is fine. A
yeah,
full-time slot, not so much. I really wanted to see him hone in and get some work as a boundary corner
yes,
and try to hone in on that. I don't know where that is right now, but you said you noticed him out there yesterday.
yeah. Nick Harris reported I was out there too. I was obviously we were all out there, and he did run a little bit more on the outside than we've seen him do to this point. He has been anytime they do nickel cornerback work, he's with the nickel cornerback.
Mm.
So that's something to note. But I think that right now this team in general is just trying to see who is comfortable there, who fits
Yeah.
there. And Izzy is a guy like I've always considered Izzy a corner. It's always been kind of how I felt about it. The length and his ability to use the boundary is something that he even did in college. Is that he was very aware of the boundary and knew how to even angle guys and push guys inside or push them outside. Like he used the boundary well. So and he's feisty out there too. I think as safety you can be feisty, but I feel like it's not the same. Does it make sense? Like I feel like you can be feisty as safety, but you're kind of like hovering in a sense,
Oh,
as
it's a great
opposed
word to
to
use, hovering.
being
He can't play in phase as a safety. You're never
yeah,
playing in phase unless you go down the line of scrimmage and you line up as a corner, right? So
yeah,
it's more so instincts as safety. And he has some decent plays. I think it was a Carolina game where he was making some pretty good instinctual plays. But
mhm,
I'm with you. I'm intrigued to see if he can do some boundary things
yeah,
out there because of that length and the ability to use that boundary, right? The out of bounds, the sideline
yeah,
as an extra defender. And
yeah,
as a 6'4" guy, it's almost impossible to be super twitchy on the interior as in the slot against those twitchy guys. Big
yeah.
slots, fine. Against those twitchy guys, down in, down out, it's just hard to do that at 6'4".
Guys having to walk out of practice and stuff in OTAs just irks me. It
Yeah.
irks me. And again, like it's nothing you can do about it, but it still is just like damn, like I injuries really is the part of the game that I just despise.
Yeah, it's
So
one of those things you can't control and you hate to see, but is inevitable.
yeah,
Thanos.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
but
inevitable.
uh, but yeah, Wanye did get some burn at the nickel. They've been doing that a little bit. I want to say last practice he got some run there as well. I think a lot of it is because of his attitude.
Hmm.
I don't.
In a good way.
We know, yeah, yeah, absolutely, because we know that he's rangy in a sense, but I think again, and I'll say this again, the nickel corner is one of the most important pieces on your defense in this NFL. You need somebody that's confident. You need someone that's not afraid to run through trash. You need
Physical.
someone that's not afraid physical. You need someone that's not afraid to come up and stop the run. You need someone that can communicate. It's such an important job, and I think they're just trying to look for someone to man that spot right now. You mentioned Kalen Carson. I'm going to say this, and I hope that it doesn't trigger anyone or anything. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know because I was watching him. I was watching him get coaching. I was watching the DB coach get into Overstreet, talk to him and stuff. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that he comes back from this injury and has that confidence again.
Get out my damn head, because I'm sitting here
Because,
saying this sounds like a confidence thing with Kalen. But right now, what you're kind of
well,
describing.
that's what it felt like last year, even before
Oh yeah,
the injury. It felt like that. It is so weird because again, and we saw this with Jalen Tolbert too. Because Tolbert, you watched him in college, he was
he
rocking
was
a
that
baby
guy
on
at
people.
South Alabama.
He
Yeah.
was that guy. And Kalen Carson, I still have his draft notes, and sometimes I have to go back and read them
Mm-hmm.
to remind myself that I saw what I saw when I saw this player play.
His name
I,
was Seatbelt. We're
yeah,
not
I mean,
seeing that Seatbelt Carson right now, or at least in his rookie year. Which,
yeah,
hey, he got baptized, right? He got thrown in the fire,
yeah,
and that definitely probably did affect his confidence. And then the injury,
yes.
yeah, doesn't help.
And then the lack of pass rush didn't help that secondary at all last year either. I mean, obviously when Micah came back, it improved, but prior to that, baby, they wasn't pinching nobody.
You know, you talk about confidence, and that leads us perfectly into the next guy, and Kyer Elam, who continues to stack good days. And for those who may have missed episode 2, really good nugget by 2I, speaking with, I believe is it Brianna or Brittany? I don't want to.
Brianna Aldridge.
Brianna Aldridge, who was a reporter or insider or worked with the Bills, so she's familiar with Kyer Elam. And you brought up the confidence situation, right? Because look, first round pick, we know he's got the talent there, but a lot of the times this league, it's not just about talent. It's some other things that factor in, and the mental aspect of the game is real. And you had brought up that nugget of one play, he does well. The next play he doesn't, and you saw his confidence take a hit. So it was very inconsistent. And I had told you in the last episode, okay, that's something I want to monitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if this is a player that, from down to down, snap to snap, practice to practice, it could have, there's a mental aspect to it. We kind of have to take a look at that. And it sounds like right now, Kyer Elam is a confident player, and this staff is breathing confidence into him. And that can only help the Cowboys, who may be leaning on him early with the Diggs injury, Ravel trying to get his feet up under him. When you look at the depth chart, right? And again, Carson's out. Troy Pride's down on the Kyer Elam has the most prestige, right?
Mm-hmm.
First round pick, played with the successful team. They're likely going to lean on him. So I really like to hear that he's stacking these days.
No, I agree. They're definitely going to lean on him. And as far as him stacking these days, man, he's getting PBUs every practice. And he's fiery. Like he's like, I'm telling you, last week he had me screaming because he don't like getting beat. Somebody beat him to the outside. One of the running backs beat him to the outside, and he just ran up and hit the ball like this. I said, "Oh, that baby, that baby take everything personal." Like he did. But I still like that energy. I still do because from what Bree said on Girls Talk Boys Talk, check us out. From what Bree
plug.
said on
Good one though.
yes. She said like, yeah, this is a player that has the physical trait, and you see, I'm telling you, the recovery speed, Sky, the length, he has the ability. Yeah, like you see it. But the confidence, corner is, to me, corner, I always think about corner in the same realm as kicker. Once they're confident.
You're going to have to explain it to folks.
Oh, it's just a confidence thing. Is that once it's shot, it's shot. Like once you have to really work to get it back. Like that, it takes time. It's a confidence, to me, it's a very confidence-based position in general. So yeah, why you laugh like that?
Because I think when people hear cornerback and kicker, they're probably gonna be like, "Excuse me, what?" But that's why I was like, explain it real quick to people.
From a mental aspect, yes, I think
mental.
that you have to have a quick what is it?
You have to have the ability to forget.
Yeah, you have the ability to forget.
You're going to get beat. We talked about that last episode, right? Like that's really my next thing I want to see 2I out there, because I don't want to keep saying the same things, but DB, right? Deron Bland, happened with him. He was so good every practice, every rep. It's like, okay, what happens when he loses a rep and he gets beat or has a bad practice? How does he bounce back? That's what I want to hear, moving forward with him.
Yeah, and I think that's Again, that's something we'll see more in mini camp.
Yep.
That's something we'll see
Yep.
more in training camp and things like that. But to your point, yes, you can tell he is being poured into because I think they believe they're going to need him. So you got to instill confidence. But also, too, we talk about George Pickens. This could just be a good change of scenery for him as well. And
Oh, yeah.
being in a scheme that fits him and that he feels comfortable in. But yeah, do expect for them to lean on him. I think he's going to be your starter across from Deron Bland to start the season.
Let's get the third down. Okay, not I did the first down sign, but we're really getting the third down. We talked about a potential starter, and get a little messy here, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Is there a new leader in the clubhouse at RB1?
Huh?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Huh? What you say
Huh?
now, Chuck? Huh?
What?
Okay, look. You know how I feel about running backs in shorts and tees and the underwear Olympics, right? I just when people give physical updates to the trenches into running back, I kind of take it with a grain of salt, a little cautious, because you can't really gain too much at that position. But for me, I always want to know, well, how are they deployed? Like, is this guy getting the first team reps? Is this guy getting pass protection reps? Is he getting the ball thrown to him on the outside? Is he lined up here? Like, those things I do think you can say, huh, that makes me think a little bit. But with Miles Sanders, we're hearing the physical aspect of Miles Sanders. We're hearing about some burst, right? We're seeing a little bit of the ability to be explosive, and I do think that that differs from what we saw in Carolina. So you once again, the second consecutive practice in your notes, you're like, hey man, Miles Sanders physically. So I got a couple questions here for you. Physically, kind of expand on the Miles Sanders situation, and then let us know how the rotation is looking like and a couple of those rookies, right? Like, what's happening there?
So one thing about Miles Sanders is that I will say I think his vision is serving him during this time. I think there's times where you see other guys run the ball and maybe that play is blown dead or whatever, or a defensive lineman fills a gap or whatever, because his vision is pretty good. And I think, and he's more experienced. You see him jump cut, bounce to the outside unexpectedly. And we got to see there was a really nice block by Ferg on the outside to get him freed up, and he was able to just come up the sideline. And you do see that burst and that explosiveness from him. And I will say, as far as like the reps and how they're doing it, I've seen him more than anybody. The last two practices that I've seen them.
So there's a new flavor, because last week it was Javonte Williams.
No. Even last week, he still had, I guess I didn't notice it, but I didn't say it because I didn't know what to think of it.
Well, you're not the only one. Publicly, Javonte Williams was the guy that was kind of the running back of the month, right? The flavor of the month. Whereas Sanders was like, don't forget Sanders. But this week is, don't forget Sanders type situation.
Yeah. And the thing about Javonte is, what I'm trying to figure out is, number one, Javonte is not the guy, we talked about it. He's not the guy that's going to really stand out in shorts and T-shirts because he's a physical downhill runner.
Bruiser. Yeah.
He's a bruiser. But I will say that I am keeping an eye on what he looks like when they start, kind of ramping up, maybe even during mini camp, because that I want to know if that burst that I saw from him, that explosiveness I saw from him last week in those few spots, is that it? Is it in a few spots, or is it something you can consistently do? Because this week I was watching him and I just was like,
I don't think that's his game.
Yeah, he looks and I know that's not his game. I'm not saying that when I'm talking about his explosiveness, I'm talking about the drive. I'm talking about putting his foot in the ground and going downhill. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about
that. Okay, yeah. He's definitely a downhill type of guy for sure.
Yeah, but this week when I saw him, I didn't see that like I'm going downhill, I'm putting my foot in the ground type thing. It took him a while to get going. And me and you talked about that. Like, he does have that kind of Derrick Henry type engine, gotta start up type thing, but it just wasn't like it was last week. I'll say that. I'm trying to be careful with my words.
1 week, that's the thing about this. I know I'm joking around about new RB1 or what have you, but it's all seriousness right now. I think in order for Miles Sanders to take that leap as the RB1 of this team, one of the aspects no one's talking about is him being a 3-down guy. Like, that's something that I think they'll probably have more confidence with Jay Will. And again, I'm with you. You're not going to see really what he brings to the table in no damn shorts, because it's the physical aspect of his game. Where Miles Sanders, if he's going to stand out with his athleticism, right, his burst, that's going to be easy to see right now, because you can't hit nobody. You can't touch nobody. You're not going to run in nobody. This is a little bit more for those type of space type guys, quick type guys. But back to the Miles Sanders 3-down thing. Even in his best career year, he wasn't the 3rd-down guy. Kenneth Gainwell was the guy in Philly when he rushed for 1,300 yards. So he had more targets, more receptions as a 3rd-down guy. He actually was a guy they had out there pass protecting and things like that. When you look at Javonte Williams, he has the edge in that department because he's a guy who gets you 40, 50 receptions, 60, 70 targets at running back. He's a guy that had over 400 passing snaps last year. Miles Sanders barely had that in 2 years combined. So he's never really been that kind of 3rd-down dude. I think he's going to have to show them that I can be out there on 3rd downs to consistently to be that RB1, or I'm going to have to show that I can be a pass catching weapon, because we know who that guy is. That's Jadon Blue. So
which I think he can. I think that's something that they are trying to work on, because it
sounds like all the backs they're trying.
I was going to say, oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, the running backs are going to do receiver-esque things in this system, and
then that's where Miles is fighting an uphill battle, because historically that's not been his thing in the NFL. Where Jadon Blue, that's going to be his thing. Javonte Williams has historically been a guy who can catch the ball at the backfield. Miles just hasn't been that guy in really ever, but a long time.
I know. So, but my thing is, well, do you think that's why they were using Chuba Hubbard more in Carolina?
He just was better. Chuba Hubbard. I mean, I went and watched the Panthers tape, but I don't want to get too far into it. But that's why I don't like when people say, "Oh, well, Miles played in Carolina." Y'all, Chuba Hubbard was an absolute beast in Carolina. They signed Miles Sanders to be the guy. Chuba took that. Yeah. So they both played in the same system, the same team. One was just better. Miles didn't have that explosiveness that you saw. Didn't have that burst. He didn't have that vision. Maybe he lost the confidence in Carolina. When you play for a bad team, it's a possibility that you just say, man, I'm just not feeling it. And a change of scenery will help. But he just got his spot taken, man.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like with Miles, so I'm gonna ask you this, Sky, and then we can move on. So you just said what you said about the receiving stuff, but what if he just still looks like the best running back we have?
Well,
how do you justify that? Like, that's what I'm asking you. Like, if he,
then he's RB1, right? Like, it is what it is. If he looks like your best running back, that means Javonte Williams isn't looking too great, unless he is looking good, but Miles looking better. That's great for you. But I do think what's the context? Like, is he the best running back because everybody else looks bad, or is he the best running back because everybody's playing well, but Miles is just much better?
I'm talking about scheme fit.
Well, I think all these dudes can be productive in this scheme. I don't necessarily think that this scheme is going to do anybody any wrong, because Clayton Adams has gotten good ball out of Marlon Mack and Connor.
Okay, I'm just wondering. Like, I'm kind of thinking ahead of like what could happen. But anyway, I believe I know Miles's agent. I'm gonna see if I can reach out to her and see how how things are going with him. Because one thing I will say too, this seems like it was unexpected for him. Like, what happened with him in Carolina, even from his initial interview, he was just like, I just had to deal with things that I didn't have any control over, and just kind of the way he was speaking about it. And then he did say talking to Dak was strange. He said that. Like, so to me, this is a person that had to come here, adjust, and is trying to make something good out of like the rest of his career. Yes, because like you said, they brought him to Carolina for that job, and then all of a sudden they was like, nah, this guy's
he's better. I mean, we gotta call a spade a spade. If you go watch the Carolina Panthers, you watch Miles Sanders of Carolina, you watch Chuba Hubbard, the dude he was a smoother runner. Miles, I think, might have lost his confidence, which, again, you're playing on a bad team, that's possible. I don't think he had that same burst. I don't think he had that same vision, that same decisiveness. He was a little bit blocky and choppy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm like, when I'm hearing about him in Dallas, it's
It
not the
don't sound.
Miles Sanders that we saw in Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
obviously a great thing for Miles personally, and could be a good thing for Dallas, as long, in my opinion, as it's him elevating above other guys who have elevated. You know what I'm saying? Like when you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
what if he's the best back? I will love it if it's because other dudes are playing well. If he's the best back because the backfield just looks like crap, we in trouble.
Well, I will say this, and then again we can move on. I do think if he continues to build upon this and is confident and all that stuff, and if he even gives you a sprinkle of receiving things, I'm worried about what's going to happen with Deuce Vaughn.
Oh, well, you could argue even if Miles don't get it together, not get it together, but if he doesn't stand out, Deuce is on the outside looking in right now.
There's just too many similarities in style. Like, for real.
So shouts out to the Short Kings.
Goodbye.
I want to see Deuce get a shot.
I do too.
But I'm also have to be realistic here. Deuce Vaughn is another guy. If I'm going to talk about Miles Sanders, can't be, he's not a third down receiving back blocky guy. Neither is Deuce from a blocking standpoint. They're not going to put him in there to block dudes. He's going to have to crush it, I think, as a pure runner, which I think he is a good runner, but he's also more of a, I don't want to use the term one trick pony, but he's not a multifaceted, like he's not going to go out there and run down special teams. Okay. So he can't do that. He's not the guy out there getting the punt return, kick returns. That's Jaden Blue and Kevontae Turpin. He's not the guy that Jaden Blue is going to be the guy that they put out there to throw the ball to. So he ain't doing that. And he's not going to be the guy to be out there to block. That's probably going to be more Javonte Williams. So he's going to have to be a spectacular runner. And that's, some people might say that's unfortunate, but that's just the reality. I think he's going to have to crush it in that way. So
I agree. I'm sorry. That got me.
No, it's okay. Hey, Cowboys Nation. I bored too. I'm just playing. I know. I'm just playing.
No, it's not even that I'm sleepy. I'm telling you, it's an anxiety thing.
And I learned about that. Last episode. It's an anxiety trigger or a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's literally like
that's what
I go to talk and I get the yannies.
That's what we going.
And they be whooping on me. So Sam was back at practice today. Sam Williams was back yesterday. Sam Williams was back at practice today. Well, yesterday they had me screaming because as soon as he got done with Britt, he ran on the field.
He ready. So
all the guys.
So safe to say, maybe mini camp we'll see Sam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll see him. He practiced most of practice yesterday rather. Oh. What is this with my days? Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, obviously he tore his ACL really quick, really early on. So I think that we're kind of lumping him into the timeline of like everybody else, but he hurt himself way before most of the other guys.
Yeah.
Was that like the first?
It was the first practice in Oxnard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So
did he practice in full? Because I thought I saw a report where they said, he was doing some individuals or things like that, or he was but it wasn't like, it didn't sound like it was full, but was it full?
No, he went and practiced on the other side. No, he went to practice.
Okay. Well,
I think that. No, I know that they're tempering him. Like, I'm sure he was on like a count. Like, if maybe that's what the person was saying. Mm-hmm. But I did see him like go do defensive line drills. Like, go to the other side of the field. Like, I saw that immediately.
Was another guy I heard came back a little bit and did some things too.
Yeah, Dono did too. And that was cool to see because it's so funny because Burt Brown treats them like his kids. He'd be like, all right, you pat him on the head, go on over there, go on, do your little thing. That's funny to me. But yeah, so I guess that's positive that we're seeing guys kind of get back. The Donovan thing was surprising to me because I didn't know. Everyone was trying to figure out why he was on the sideline, why he was working with Britt, what he was doing. But yeah, so I mean, obviously that gave I think Elijah Clark some opportunity as well, and that's somebody to keep an eye out on as well. So it's like, okay, cool. I mean, safety is one of those positions now when I'm just like, you need good safeties, but it's also just like, if y'all gonna say ouch, then we just gonna have to keep it moving. I don't have time.
I can't wait till Marquise Bell gets back because then if everybody back healthy, I say let them boys compete.
Yeah, let Wanye, let Marquise Bell, let Elijah Clark, let those guys.
Donald, Malik, let them all compete.
Yeah, you might as well. Like, this is what year are we in with Malik Hooker's contract?
Second or third, I can't remember.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
either way, it's a year where you can get out of it if you're not ready.
Speaking of Jalen Tolbert, I think this is a contract year for him.
Yes. Yep.
So
Tolbert, Sam, Ferg. We gonna talk about that too. I think we're gonna really dive into these contract years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to get those last little things in there. But yeah, overall, I will say it was a more chill day. I think the wind kind of threw off the vibe, but I don't think that they went as hard as they did the week before, with it being the last practice. I don't know. It just seemed like the energy was just a little bit more lighthearted. I'll say that, as opposed to last week. It felt very competitive. And it was not saying it wasn't competitive. It just seemed a little bit more relaxed. Like, and also too, they have this thing that they do, and I wish I knew what it was called. But they have like the little things you put out for the footwork thing. You know, when you see the running backs going, side to side through the
ladder.
So the ladder, it's the ladder, but they make it. It's not just like a ladder. It's not like the one you like roll out. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, they do it together as a team. Everybody do it, and the coaches is around like hyping them up.
So it's like a game,
and because it's like a game. But the bigger defensive players, the offensive linemen, they don't do this stuff like that, but they're doing it.
Yeah. And
the coaches are, like I said, the music's playing all loud. The coaches is hyping them up. It's like a fun thing that they do to kind of get loose at the beginning of practice, and it's cute. I don't really know how else to describe it. I know you a man and you don't want to be
cute in football.
I know it's cute.
Oh my!
I know. I was like, I know this ain't the right word to use, but I was like, oh, look at them having so much fun. I don't know what to say. I like seeing players enjoy themselves. I like seeing players relax.
You know what that remind me of? As a hooper, right? And I used to coach too, basketball. We would play knockout to kind of loosen up the players. So, loosen them up a little bit. We'll play knockout and we'll get into it. Or maybe at the end of practice, we'll tell them at the beginning of practice, hey, you have a good practice, man. We got knockout. Like, the kids love that. So that's what it sounds like to me. One of those type of games where everybody play.
That's the vibe I would give it. The vibe I would give it. And they are actually warming up. But again, what the most cool point to me is the coaches. It's like a soul train line. That's how it is. It's like a soul train line. And the coaches on the outside,
electric slide.
But with the drill, they're doing it with the feet. But the coaches are on the outside lined up, and they are like hyping them up.
That's fun, man.
That's why I said it's cute. I'm like, oh,
no, God, we can't be using that in football.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? It's so manly.
It's fun. Oh. No, we ain't got. We not going. Hey! Shouts out to all the females watching the show. But y'all probably like, all right, now he's talking about cute.
All right. It was
ain't no babies. It was fun. It was exciting to see.
It's fun. It's enjoyable to watch. They're nuggets.
Yeah, I know. It's so
fun. I'm auntie to a lot of them anyway.
When we have these conversations off air, like just in general, just talking ball and just some of the words used, I mean, in my head or reading the text, I'm like, 2i, come on now.
I know they're grown men.
Calling these grown ass men, oh, he's a little baby. When she say him, I talk to my 1-year-old like that. Oh, look at him. Him just so adorable. Like, you said adorable. Hey, Joe Toe is 6'2", 342. Ain't nothing adorable about that man.
They just nuggets to me, man. I'm sorry. Like,
all right, let's shoot. This could have been 4th down, but let's quickly get the 4th down, and we're bringing it back. Say what? Shouts out to Suey. This time though, we're not going to investigate what a player said. You had brought this up at the beginning of the show. You guys had a chance to talk to Stephen Jones for a little bit, and the headliner going around right now for Stephen Jones is they had asked him, look, is there any post June 1st moves in the works? And this was his quote. Let me make sure I get this right. We don't have anything that's on the front burner. So I ask you, is that cap or no cap? I got my answer.
It's no. I think it's no cap.
Okay.
I think it's no cap. I want to say cappuccino real bad, but I think it's no cap.
Cappuccino's great. So I want to agree. I think
So,
for right now, it's no cap because
yeah, for right
they're
now.
right now. He said it too. He said, and make sure we don't have anything on the front burner. The front burner would indicate right now. Because if you go look at their history, at least under the Mike McCarthy era, when you get into that July, August, they constantly bring in some type of veteran. You know, whether it's Everson Griffin, Malik Hooker, Anthony Barr in 2022. Remember, they brought him in 2023. It was Lance and Igbenogany when they made trades. So, and last year, they brought in a couple D linemen, Joseph, Lawson. So 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to make a move, but it's likely going to be when they get deeper into camp. I think they want to get there and see what these guys have. And for me, it'd be nice if they made some moves, but I get what they're trying to do. They want to see if some of these young guys or veterans they brought in are the guys that'll work out. And if not, we'll pick up the phones and see what's out there.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. And obviously, too, there might be some guys on their radar that are older veteran guys. And, they're not going to, those gentlemen ain't even going to be off their couch and hanging out until middle of camp, beginning of season for some guys, and I will say that if they gonna do it, they better be decisive about it, because I do a off the record, I do a Houston Texans show.
Other teams, that's the thing, like other teams also need stuff too now.
That's what I was about to say. So if they are, they might have to get some information from minicamp. Like, I don't know how long you can wait with some, because when you go down the list, there's not a lot of difference making guys available really in every position. So whatever you do, you got to be. But he also mentioned the UFL and some things like that, and I was just like, Steven, please.
Trying to recreate that Brandon Aubrey, Kevontae Turpin magic,
And not saying that there isn't, Fossil had a lot to do with that, but I'm just like, Steven, please, don't do this.
Get us a dude. You know what I'm saying? That's what we were looking for. But at this point, beggars can't be choosers. The 2 positions most Cowboy fans are talking about, defensive tackle and cornerback. I do think there are some quality veterans that are available. It's just a matter of if they want to pull that trigger. So I'm with you. If you get into camp, man, and you notice that you're not as confident with a specific player, I think you need to get them in here sooner rather than later so they can get ramped up. And we're not running into a situation where, all right, we're bringing them in August 29th and we play a game in 12 days or whatever. And now we're like, he ain't ready and he has to get ramped up and he doesn't play till week 5 or 6. Yeah. You need guys that are going to be ready week 1 against the defending Super Bowl champions.
I agree. Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that they're proactive about it. I will say, from listening to Steven, he did say they asked him, how he's feeling about Shotty and the coaches that he lit up, y'all. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, he lit up like a Christmas tree that's still lit. Juan
Ye, I hate to go back, but they talked about, or Juan Ye was asked about the difference, the energy level, and he said something a little profound because it was the way he said it. He said, well, is it different? He said, it's different, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm like, oh, he ain't trying to disrespect the previous regime, but he understands this is a different energy level here. And he said, I'm happy, excited to come to work. And he's not the only one. Michael Irvin, the legends, other people that have been around and said, this is a different energy around the building.
And can I say something really quickly before we disperse?
Yep.
I've been seeing the discourse online about the word culture.
It's turned into
and the usage
a taboo
of the
word now. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Like, I can't really figure. I don't want to say this as a means of disrespect, but it's like a lot of these people. I almost cussed. A lot of these people talking, and
what she wanted to say, y'all, was a lot of these ain't. Is what you wanted to say?
No. Seriously, a lot of these people talking, and y'all not even around the building to even know the difference.
Hold on, where the button at?
Y'all not even around to know. You haven't even been around enough to know. You're not even connected with the players enough to know. So I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm gonna listen to what the people that's lining up have to say.
That's why we got 2 eye on here, man.
I'm not gonna listen to you. Furthermore, as someone that has had the pleasure of being around these players, of being around some of the best scouts in the NFL, you can gauge, you can feel, just like you can look at somebody, you can listen, you can go to the rec and see a guy hooping and be like, oh, he different.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think that we can't identify when something feels different in the building?
Come on.
When I'm telling you, there are people that are credible, that are around, that have experienced this team, that I'm going into my 4th year. I'm telling you right now, I don't care what happens this season. There's things shifting from a just the way that they do business mentality. The fact that I'm telling you, Steven said, I'm not answering no more questions about Micah. We are good. Like, that's it. Like, he said the communication's good. He said that everything is like, I guess everything is kind of where it's supposed to be. I know Micah tweeted out something, but it's just the fact that he even wants to keep his zip locked.
Well, I would say this
to
bring it back to the field and to the coaches and to the atmosphere. I think there is a such thing as locker room culture, and I think
agree.
a locker room culture you can take it directly, like, oh, in the locker room, or what I'm saying is there's a culture within the culture. I personally believe a organizational culture starts with the top. It starts with the owner and the general manager, and those things are still highly in question. But then I do think there's a locker room culture where your coaches set that tone, and sometimes certain teams are able to overcome maybe a toxic environment outside of that locker room because they have a very high culture in there. And there's no doubt about it. That seems to be changing. People like you who are around the building, Hall of Famers and legends have said it. Players are stating it. I truly believe the locker room culture is 100% improving or changing. It's the other aspect that you hope is also coming along as well. But we don't really know about that just yet. I think we are starting to find out pretty quickly here that Shotty is bringing a different locker room culture to this team. And does that mean there's going to be 5 to 10 more wins? Who knows? But like you said, things are changing in a good way on that field from an energy standpoint and cultural standpoint. Yeah,
I mean, it's just baffling to me. Like, I don't understand. It's because to me, it's just that contrarian crap. Like, what do y'all want?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a I don't
what do
know
y'all
how
want?
to call it, but there's a contrarian mentality where sometimes just going against the grain is the thing to do, and it, but yeah.
I'm just like, what do y'all want? Do I understand that we need to see it on the field? Do I understand that we need to see, the locker room is where that shit starts. That's where it starts.
Hey.
So if the players are being open about, if the players are being open about feeling connected, Shotty even said it yesterday, we set the tone. If we don't bring the energy, the players are not. Like this, I'm telling you, this coaching staff, they be hype out there. They be bouncing around and talking, and I'm just like, God damn, it is way different. And I see the players reacting to that. I see these players smiling more. I see them excited, but they're also competing. So to me,
competition under pressure is what Mike Wervin said.
I just think, make up your damn mind. What do you want? Do you want them to be, because we always talk about them being buttoned up and corporate. Do you want them to be chill or not? Because they blasting Uzi at practice. Which one do you want?
I can bring in the heat to end this show, Cowboys Nation. If you stayed through to the end of this banger that I just brought y'all, please drop some fire emojis in the comment section. This is probably premiering, so drop some fire emojis in the chat because she just brought you inside the locker room on that field. That there are some differences that are happening that seem to be positive. Again, y'all, we have no idea if this is going to translate into more wins, but I do think it is a positive that Shotty and this coaching staff are bringing to the Cowboys that at least will aid in that. There's other things they got to do, but it 100% will aid in getting everybody working collectively and being on the same page, fighting for one another. And then when adversity strikes, you hope all of that comes out and plays itself in those moments. You do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But hey,
so sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to do it for us.
Don't you apologize for dropping that fire. You ended episode 3 with a banger. Oh my goodness. I ain't playing with y'all.
Angry.
She ain't playing with. Hey, what? Hey, Jerry. What? Tell him what.
I don't have the patience to jack with you today.
She ain't got time
Put
for
him
that, man.
up. Put him up. Put him up.
She ain't got time for that. Hey, T.Y., that was a cute outro you did, T.Y.
Don't call it cute.
Oh, don't call it cute?
Nah, you said we can't see. Say the C word in here.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for coming through on episode 3. Make sure y'all do us a huge favor. You guys have been showing so much love, so continue to show love. Hit the like button. Share this thing. Comment your thoughts on if you agree, disagree, throw tomatoes at us, whatever. Just let us know how you feel about the this episode today, and we'll be back. I don't know how many times next week because we got mini camp the 10th, 11th, 12th. So we'll figure that out. But we gonna be back next week to talk about mini camp with y'all. So I'm excited for that.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully some real stuff happens.
I think so. You can't hide everything for 3 straight days. They can't hide it all.
Okay.
You can't do it. All right, y'all. We out of here. We will see y'all next week. Peace.
You got to be careful when you call a role model because a lot of these models out here playing roles. That's it right there.